What's up, folks? Justin Phillip here, Dog Times Productions, and today we are going to be assessing some more issues with the new Atomos Shinobi. Now, if you haven't already seen my review of this, I kind of highly recommend it. It is an unboxing that turns into a review, so I wouldn't be offended if you just fast forward the unboxing part and get right to the review. If you'll notice, I don't have any ads on my videos. No one pays me to do these things. I am a freelance working full-time filmmaker here in the Los Angeles area. With that being said, when you see me doing these videos, that just means I'm kind of on my downtime, either prepping for the next shoot or, making phone calls, making storyboards, stuff of that nature. So I will say, I think with a lot of the reviews on YouTube is, these companies are just doling out these things to these YouTube influencers, and I don't really feel that a lot of them are really doing a really in-depth working review all the time, whereas mine is more geared towards actual low-budget indie filmmakers, much like myself. So some of the features I found on the Shinobi, I just don't really see people talking about. So, I'm not poo-pooing anyone. I love every... I'm not a hater. I'm really not. I'm just, being honest. So if you want to check it out, check it out. But if not, then you can stick around because today this video stems out of, my loyal subscribers, people who hit me up with comments, questions regarding the Shinobi, things that I didn't touch on. So we're going to assess those today. With that being said as well, if you are watching my video and you see things, you have questions about things, by all means, hit me up. Like I said, I'm not getting paid to do these things, and I just kind of do this on my free time, so I do not mind, making videos specific to your question if I find it interesting. We are going to be testing out the latency of the Shinobi, so we'll definitely be looking at that. But the real interesting thing that I found was a question about how does the Shinobi deal with down converting, meaning that the Shinobi only accepts a 4K 30p signal, and when you have a camera such as the GH5, it has an option where you can auto down convert to whatever your monitor accepts. Or like with the BlackMagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K, it only outputs a 1080p signal via HDMI. And I guess the question was regarding, does that affect the quality of the Shinobi when you're down converting like that? Meaning, what's the point if it does affect the image quality? What's the point of a pixel-to-pixel or a 2-to-1 punch-in zoom if you're looking at if the image isn't a sharp 4K image? And I thought that was an interesting question, and I really haven't really, I guess I haven't really ever thought of that or ever really paid it any mind or how that does affect your punch-in 2-to-1 zoom. I just never even thought of that. So I guess, we'll be doing that today. We're throwing it on the GH5 first because that's where the question was garnered at, and we'll check the latency, and I think latency is a thing that just is the same across all cameras, I would imagine, but we'll still, for shits and giggles, we'll do it on the BMPCC4K as well, but we'll also be comparing both on how the down convert works on the BMPC and how it works on the GH5. So you can see both monitors here. Let me make sure I got sharp focus on my gal. And let's see. Okay, now I gave you a little preview of the cool stuff of the Shinobi. All right, if you want to see more about that little feature, then you gotta go check out my actual review. Okay, so here we go, latency test, here we go. Oh, it would help if I loosen the tripod, Justin. Okay, here we go, latency test, here we go. And you can see both monitors there that, yeah, it's a little slow. I mean, it's not. So, whoop, 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 whoop. It is a tad behind, but it's not bad. I mean, I've definitely seen worse. Okay, so there's that. By the way, this is being recorded on BlackMagic, of course, because some of you know I only own the 2 cameras. Okay, so now the question was, how does this down convert thing work? So, okay, so I'm going to go in here, and somewhere in here is the HDMI. Here it is. HDMI record output on the GH5 is on page 404 in this little menu. And if you notice on here, it's a down convert. Now, you could also do 4K 30p. this was a question too. Can you monitor the Shinobi in 4K 30p while recording on the GH5 in 4K 60? So let's find out. Now I will say a little caveat here. I did not buy this Shinobi to go with the GH5. I bought it specifically to go with the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. So that is one reason why I don't know a lot of the connections with the GH5 that this Shinobi has. I will say that I think most people would be looking to buy the Ninja 5 with the GH5 because you can record ProRes on the GH5 then. However, I do believe that the firmware is exactly the same in the Ninja 5 that is in the Shinobi. So this little 4K 30 thing here is interesting. However, I will say that the Ninja 5 does accept up to 4K 60p, whereas this one does not, I believe. Let me put it back on Cine-V. Yes, I rock Cine-V. I am one of the very few people that rocks Cine-V on the GH5 because GH5 is more like my live events camera, and a lot of live event clients that I have don't even really want to bother with color grading. So Cine-V is a very nice, right out the box kind of picture profile that requires very minimal color grading. And a lot of clients kind of like the way it looks, and I do too. And I shot on natural for a long time and then kind of stumbled upon Cine-V, and I haven't looked back at natural ever since. So that's just for my GH5 users there. You'll know what I'm talking about. So let's see. Okay, so let's do the 4K 30p. Right here we go. Okay, so 4K 30p is no problem. Now I'm converting a 4K 30p signal to the Shinobi. Now the question is, can I record in 4K 60p while sending out a 30p signal? What'd that say? This operation is disabled in the current HDMI record output bit mode. Here's what the problem is. You have to change this to 8-bit. Okay, so there's a lot of nonsense going on here. So you have to change the bit mode to 8-bit. I always had it. I had this thing set on 10-bit because I used to always record with the Ninja Inferno and wanted 10-bit 422 ProRes files. So I had to go in here and change that back to 8-bit. Okay, now I can go in here and now I can down convert to 4K 30, and now I should be able to record 60p. There we go. So you have to make sure that you're in 8-bit under your HDMI settings, and you can set this thing to 4K 30p, and you can see I'm recording in 4K 60. Now I guess his question was, what is the 2-to-1 like on this thing? As you'll see here, I mean, the punch-in looks fine to me. This is in 4K 30p, so it will work. You just have to make sure that you just have to make sure that in here, you are actually only sending out an 8-bit signal. Otherwise, you can't do anything. So there you go, folks. You are able to record in 4K 60 while monitoring a 4K 30p signal on the Shinobi while connected to the GH5. Now what we're going to do, we're going to swap cameras around, and we are going to see how the 2-to-1 punch-in zoom looks like on the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K when it's sending out a 1080p signal. Okay, so now we're looking at the Shinobi on the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. Here we'll do a little latency test on this. I don't know, it looks a little better on this than it did on the GH5 actually, now that I'm watching it. I think the latency is not as big of an issue on the Pocket like it was on the GH5. Now that GH5 looked pretty latency riddled, but this one looks almost identical. Wow, that's interesting. I just thought the latency would be the same across all cameras. That is so bizarre. Okay, so that's a pretty good sign. Okay, now let me check the 2-to-1 on here. Let me get out of that. Let me check it on here. Want to get my woman in focus. Ha, where is she? Where is she? All right. Now this is automatically down converting to 1080p. I can do a 4 punch in. Now this is interesting too with the, yeah, I mean, it's not like as crystal sharp as the 4K 30p was, but it's still, I mean, Also, I will note out that with the 4K 30p signal from the GH5, you could only do a 2-to-1 punch-in, but on this one you can do a ×4 punch-in because now you're at, because of the 1080p signal. So, I mean, obviously it's not as sharp as the 4K 30p, but also I think there's other things to take into consideration here. It's also the fact that the BlackMagic RAW film picture profile on the BlackMagic is much softer than, say, the Cine V profile from the GH5. That is one thing to consider, but also, yeah, it's sending out a 1080p signal versus a 4K 30p signal. However, if we did want to play around with what we're looking at, we could change it to like extended video or just maybe the video. Oh, there you see I'm blowing out like a mofo. But the video LUT makes it kind of worse. Extended video is not so bad. Yeah, the 2-to-1 is definitely much nicer than the 4-to-1 or whatever you call this pixel peep thing. But yeah, maybe extended video helps us see it a little better for this punch-in zoom. Okay, but now that we've done that, so you say, okay, Justin, now what can we monitor here? Well, I'll show you guys what I did in the tests. There you go. Monitoring a 4K 60p signal here. And this is a 4K DCI. You can do Ultra HD, HD obviously, punch in. So yeah, I had no problem monitoring the 4K 60p signal. So you can turn on your high frame rates. And now I can go up to 120 frames per second. And there it is. And yeah, 120 out of 30 now. And we have no problems monitoring any of this stuff on the Shinobi. There you go, folks. Just a quick little extension review of the Atomos Shinobi on both the GH5 and the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. Hopefully that helps some of you out making a purchase decision, I guess. Just one little tad bit of house cleaning before we sign off. I will be... This YouTube little video here is kind of slowly growing, and I've met a few well-established, very talented directors of photography here in the Los Angeles area throughout my acting career and as I get further into my directing and my own DP work. And so I'm actually going to be having in the future some well-established, very talented DPs here on the channel. I'm just be doing little interviews with them, but I don't want to make it too podcasty since this is YouTube. So they're also going to be showing us some breakdowns and some of their lighting setups for some of their big projects that they've worked on. So I'm pretty excited about that. And if you guys are excited about that, let me know. And as we get closer to definite scheduling, I'm going to be putting out some links to the guys or the gals that are going to be on the show. And if you check out their work on Instagram or their websites and you have specific questions about them or just any questions in general for professional DPs working here in the Los Angeles area, then feel free to hit me up with those comments or questions, and I'll definitely be utilizing those in the segments when I have those guests on. So it's kind of interesting how this little ghetto little channel here is kind of growing like that, but I'm pretty excited about it because a lot of these DPs I look up to quite a lot. And one of them is Jon Schweigart. I'll just drop that right now. He has agreed to come on the show and to walk us through a few of his projects. And so I'm pretty excited about that. I'm actually going to leave a link to his Instagram below. He is going to be our first guest here. So I met him as an actor originally, but I've also worked with him, me as a director, him as a DP. So, I'm just going to drop his info down there now just to gear up for if you guys have any questions or anything about that, because that'll be happening very shortly. He is going to be our first guest. Okay, folks, there you have it. As always, thank you so much for watching. Huge shout out and gigantic thank you to all of my loyal subscribers. Keep the comments and questions coming in, and that's a wrap.